Picture this, the hospital lights flicker. Nurses sprint like they're in an Olympic relay, and T.I.'s family stands frozen as doctors march in with faces grimmer than a funeral playlist. King Harris. It's time, they whisper. And no, this ain't your typical family emergency. This is a real-life soap opera that makes the Kardashians look like they're stuck in a rerun of Sesame Street. The whispers turned into screams. The screams turned into tears, and before you know it, the entire Harris household looked like the final act of a Shakespeare tragedy. Doctors didn't just deliver news, they dropped a bombshell so brutal it could shatter steel. Phones started buzzing, Instagram lives lit up like fireworks, and Twitter? Oh, Twitter was convulsing in chaos. This wasn't just a medical update, it was the plot twist of the decade. Forget Netflix, forget HBO, this drama had no season break. Just pure, unfiltered, reality-shattering chaos. And the way the family reacted? Let's just say Hollywood directors are probably crying into their Starbucks lattes right now. Wondering how reality TV just got outdone by reality itself. Buckle up because the leaks, the meltdowns, and the scandal avalanche are only getting started. The clock was ticking. And the ICU felt less like a hospital wing and more like the backstage of a disaster movie. King Harris, the son of hip-hop royalty, T.I. and Tiny lay surrounded by blinking machines that beeped louder than a DJ Khaled ad-lib. Every heartbeat was a cliffhanger. Every sigh from the doctors sounded like a spoiler alert to the tragedy. Nobody wanted to believe. Now let's get one thing straight. This wasn't just another celebrity hospital visit. This wasn't some, oh, he twisted his ankle while trying to dance like Usher on TikTok type of story. Nope. This was the type of breaking news that hijacks every group chat, makes your auntie call you 3 times, and leaves TMZ foaming at the mouth like rabid dogs waiting for the first leaked screenshot dot behind those hospital doors. The Harris family wasn't just scared, they were collapsing. T.I., the self-proclaimed king of the South, who's usually spitting bars about never folding under pressure, suddenly looked like he couldn't even fold a napkin. Tiny, who has weathered scandals, cheating rumors, and reality TV battles like a warrior queen, was crumbling in ways that made fans forget every tabloid headline they'd ever read about her. And the siblings? They weren't holding it together, either one was pacing the hallway like he was auditioning for a role in a mob movie, while the other clung to the wall like gravity had just doubled its weight. The whispers coming from inside the ICU weren't whispers anymore. Words started leaking before the doctors even made the official report. A nurse, probably trying to be slick, texted her cousin, who just had to post it on Facebook. Within minutes, the whole internet knew something the family didn't even want to admit to themselves. King's condition had reached the point of no return, and let's be honest, this family drama hit different because we've all watched King Harris live his life like a walking headline. From Instagram lives where he claps back harder than a Twitter troll on steroids, to viral run-ins with the police that had everyone debating whether he was about that life, or just cosplaying as his dad's lyrics king, has been a storm magnet since day one. But here's the kicker. Every scandal King survived before, from public brawls to social media meltdowns, feels like child's play compared to what unfolded in that hospital. This wasn't about reputation, rap beefs, or tabloid gossip. This was life and death, messy, raw, and way too real. And of course, in today's culture, nothing stays private. The second the words critical condition slipped out of a doctor's mouth, somebody's cousin's sister's best friend had already tweeted, "Y'all, King Harris is not looking good." That tweet alone got more engagement in 5 minutes than half the rap mixtapes released this year. Hashtags like hashtag pray for King and hashtag stay strong Harris family were suddenly trending, while trolls twisted it into dark jokes. Because the internet has no chill. Now let's rewind for a second, because how exactly did we get here? How did King Harris, the Prince of Atlanta hip-hop dynasty, end up lying in a hospital bed with his family collapsing around him like a house of cards during a hurricane? The answer, like all great scandals, is layered. First off, the leaks claim there were medical complications that doctors had been trying to stabilize for weeks. But in true celebrity fashion, nothing about this situation was simple. King wasn't just a patient. He was the son of T.I. and Tiny, which means every nurse, every doctor, every janitor sweeping the hallway knew they weren't just treating a person. They were treating the headlines of tomorrow. And trust me, the press was already circling like vultures. TMZ had a camera van parked so close to the hospital entrance you'd think they were shooting the next Fast and Furious movie. Paparazzi were camping outside with lenses long enough to spy on Mars. Even bloggers with 200 followers were showing up, hoping to snag a blurry photo they could sell for gas money. Inside, the atmosphere was toxic with tension. Doctors came in with clipboards that might as well have been ticking time bombs. Every time they flipped a page, the family braced like they were about to hear a guilty verdict. Then came the moment that would shatter the Harris household and send shockwaves through the culture. The doctors walked in, their faces heavy with the kind of news you don't want to deliver but can't avoid. They didn't even need to say it, the silence was loud enough to make everyone's stomach drop. According to insiders, the words "prepare yourselves" were uttered, and that was all it took. Tiny broke down, clutching at T.I. like she was trying to hold on to the last shred of hope. T.I., who's usually bulletproof in the spotlight, reportedly turned away, biting his lip like he could physically chew back the pain. And King's siblings? Some screamed, some cried, and some just stood there in shock, staring at the floor as if the tiles would explain why the universe just did. Sucker punched their family dot, and here's where it gets darkly ironic. While the family collapsed in grief, the outside world was eating it up like a Netflix cliffhanger. News alerts pinged phones worldwide, fan pages started spamming tribute posts, and haters slid into the comments section with the type of cold-hearted takes that remind us the internet can be more savage than any diss track. This wasn't just a hospital scene anymore. It was a cultural moment, a collective gasp, a digital funeral before the official report even hit. Everyone wanted a piece of the story. Fans who cried like they were losing a cousin, bloggers who twisted it for clicks, and rappers who saw an opportunity to drop a "Stay Strong" post to farm sympathy likes. The Harris family wasn't just living through trauma, they were starring in a public spectacle that made every previous scandal look like child's play. And the craziest part? This was only the beginning, because if you thought the initial collapse of the Harris household was dramatic, wait until you see how the internet, celebrities, and even King's rivals reacted once the shockwaves hit outside those hospital walls. The Harris family's collapse inside that hospital was only the opening scene. Outside those sterile white walls, the world was erupting like Twitter after a Kanye rant. The second whispers of final report slipped into the digital bloodstream. Every rapper, reality star, comedian, and wannabe clout chaser decided it was their moment to speak. And when I say speak, I don't mean heartfelt silence, I mean over the top, performative Instagram story Shakespeare. Let's start with the rappers. Some went the prayers up route. POSTIMG black and white selfies with captions so generic they could have been ripped from a Hallmark card. You know the type. Stay strong, love and light to the Harris family. Translation: I didn't really know him like that, but let me secure these sympathy likes before the algorithm buries me. Others though? Oh, they couldn't resist turning King's tragedy into their headline. One Atlanta rapper posted a video ranting, "See, this what happens when y'all live too fast, man. Fame ain't everything." As if he wasn't just caught in a scandal last week involving unpaid child support and a side chick calling him out on TikTok. Another artist, clearly chasing clout, uploaded a freestyle called "Pray for King" over a beat that sounded like it was made on a toaster. And of course, the internet roasted him so hard that by the end of the day, the hashtag toaster beats was trending higher than the actual hospital updates. But the rappers weren't the only ones catching strays. Enter the comedians. Because when tragedy strikes, the internet's favorite coping mechanism is memes. Within hours, King's hospital moment had been remixed into TikToks, GIFs, and savage one-liners that would make even the Grinch feel guilty for laughing. One viral meme showed a doctor holding a clipboard labeled "Final Report" while T.I. looked on in shock, with the caption, "When you see the group project raid and you didn't even do the homework. Brutal." Another meme took a still of Tiny crying and slapped the words, "Me when Netflix asks if I'm still watching." Savage doesn't even begin to cover it. Of course, the memes didn't sit well with fans who actually cared. They flooded comment sections with rage, writing essays longer than your college thesis about respect and boundaries. But let's be honest, the internet has no respect and even fewer boundaries. For every heartfelt tribute, there were 10 trolls cooking up jokes faster than Gordon Ramsay in a kitchen meltdown. And then came the wildest twist of all. Rival families started chiming in. That's right, King Harris's hospital bed somehow reignited old beefs. Certain love and hip-hop stars who hadn't been relevant since Obama was in office suddenly popped up on Instagram Lives, claiming they saw this coming. One even said, "This is karma for how the Harris family treated people in the industry." Excuse me, karma? We're talking about a kid fighting for his life, not a petty Instagram spat over who stole whose wig line endorsement. But hey, clout is a drug, and these folks were overdosing. Even worse. A YouTuber with 3 million subs dropped a reaction video within hours titled, "The Truth About King Harris Collapsed Doctors Hiding Details?" The thumbnail? A photoshopped image of King hooked up to wires, surrounded by red question marks and flames. Tasteless? Yes. Viral? Absolutely. It hit 1 million views in a day, because nothing feeds the internet like tragedy packaged as clickbait. Meanwhile, celebrities who actually had ties to the Harris family tried to play it cool. Cardi B allegedly texted Tiny privately offering support. But of course, someone screenshotted the text and sold it to a gossip page faster than you can say exclusive. Offset jumped into a live stream saying, "Man, King gon' be straight. He a soldier only for fans to clown him for sounding like he was promoting a mixtape." Even Boosie chimed in, ranting about the youth needing to slow down, while ignoring the fact that half his interviews sound like live-action soap operas themselves. But the biggest bombshell came when Jaime on ignoring the fact that half his interviews sound like live-action soap operas themselves. But the biggest bombshell came when Jaime, 50 Cent slid into the chat. Because, let's be real, 50 can't resist a headline. He reposted an article about King with the caption, "Damn, prayers up. But y'all know I don't play about Harris family. Respect." Now, was it genuine? Maybe. Was it calculated? Absolutely. And the comments section went nuclear. Some praised 50 for showing love. Others dragged him saying, "Not you turning this into free promo for your new show." One even wrote 50 would promote vitamin water at a funeral. And honestly, they're not wrong. By this point, the public outrage was spiraling. Fans were camping outside the hospital like it was a Beyoncé concert. The streets of Atlanta were buzzing with rumors, some saying King was gone, others claiming he had miraculously pulled through. And when you mix uncertainty with social media, you get chaos that makes Game of Thrones look like a bedtime story. Reporters were going rogue, barging into hospital staff DMs begging for leaks. One even bribed a security guard just to snap a blurry photo of the Harris family walking to the cafeteria. And that blurry picture? Sold to a gossip site for $20,000. Yes, $20,000 for an image that looked like it. Was shot on a 2002 flip phone, and while all this madness was unfolding, the Harris family themselves were under the harshest spotlight of their lives. Every tear, every sigh, every whispered prayer was being dissected online like a frog in a high school science class. Tiny's breakdown became a trending gif. T.I.'s moment of silence was turned into a meme captioned, "When the Wi-Fi cuts out during your favorite show." And the siblings? Let's just say the internet had zero chill about their reactions. Some praised them for being strong. Others accused them of clout chasing by posting vague, "Stay strong" stories with black screens and broken heart emojis. The wildest part? The Harris family couldn't even grieve privately. Cameras flashed every time they stepped outside. Fans yelled, "We love you, King," through hospital windows like they were chanting at a concert. And the more chaotic it got outside, the more suffocating it became inside those walls. What made it worse was the hypocrisy of the culture. People who had clowned King Harris for years mocking his fights, roasting his raps, dragging his attitude, were now acting like they'd been his biggest fans since birth. The same blogs that once ran headlines like, "King Harris out of control again," were now publishing teary-eyed articles calling him a misunderstood soul. The flip-flopping was so shameless it made politicians look consistent. But nothing topped the final twist of the day. A leaked audio recording from inside the hospital. Someone, allegedly a staff member, recorded a moment where a doctor said the words, "Prepare the family for the worst." The audio hit Twitter like dynamite. Fans lost their minds. Some cried, some raged, and others accused the hospital of cashing in on tragedy. Within hours, the clip had millions of views, sparking debates about privacy, morality, and how low people will stoop for clout. Spoiler, the answer is always lower than you think, and just when it seemed like things couldn't get more explosive, they did. Because the fallout from these reactions wasn't just reshaping King's narrative, it was about to rewrite the legacy of the entire Harris family. By the time the dust settled, or should I say, by the time the Wi-Fi stopped crashing from sheer overload, the Harris family's ordeal had evolved from a private medical emergency into a full-blown cultural earthquake. The story of King Harris' last moments wasn't just dominating blogs and timelines. It was rewriting the narrative of every single person connected to him. Let's start with the family themselves. Tiny, once a steady rock who stood by T.I. through cheating scandals, lawsuits, and reality TV meltdowns, suddenly became the symbol of heartbreak. The image of her breaking down in the hospital hallway circulated so widely it practically became the Mona Lisa of grief memes. Some fans called her the strongest mother alive. Others mocked her for looking too dramatic, because apparently even in tragedy, the internet demands perfect posture. I wasn't spared either. The King of the South, known for his wordy rants and sharp tongue, suddenly found himself speechless. That silence was captured and dissected like it was a presidential speech. Headlines screamed, "T.I. finally breaks down," while pundits debated what his body language really meant. One tabloid even ran a side-by-side comparison of his hospital expression next to his mugshot from years ago, asking which one looked more defeated. The lack of chill? Astronomical. Then came King's siblings. Overnight, they were transformed into unwilling spokespeople for resilience, grief, and keeping the family together. Their every move became symbolic. A single Instagram post with a black heart emoji turned into think pieces about the generational trauma of fame. Another sibling was spotted leaving the hospital with friends. And within minutes, bloggers accused them of clout chasing in the middle of tragedy. Imagine grieving your brother and getting roasted online because you wore sneakers the internet didn't approve of. Unreal, but the aftermath wasn't just about the family, it was about the culture. The internet had officially turned King Harris' final hours into the event of the year. TikTokers posted reaction videos with fake tears. Twitter comedians used his name to fuel trending hashtags, like #KingStrong and #PrayForKing right next to memes about fast food. The hypocrisy of it all was louder than a DJ Khaled intro. Worse yet, the music industry latched on like sharks smelling blood. Suddenly, every rapper in Atlanta was teasing new tracks with dedications to King. Never mind that half of them had never even been in the same room with him. Clout doesn't check credentials. One producer dropped a snippet of a tribute beat and had the audacity to watermark it with his SoundCloud tag. Fans dragged him mercilessly, but the beat still went viral because, well, tragedy sells. Meanwhile, conspiracy theories spread like wildfire. Some claimed the doctors were hiding details. Others swore the family was staging certain reactions for publicity. A fringe corner of Twitter even suggested King's collapse was tied to industry sacrifices, because apparently every time a celebrity sneezes, the Illuminati gets blamed. These theories weren't just bizarre, they were viral gold. YouTubers milked them for content, TikTokers did dramatic exposes. And suddenly the internet was less concerned with King's health and more obsessed with playing detective in a conspiracy that made less sense than a reality show plot twist. And yet, through all the chaos, one truth stood out: the Harris family's reputation would never be the same. They weren't just a hip-hop dynasty anymore, they had become the tragic stars of a saga bigger than their reality TV days. This wasn't T.I. and Tiny, the family hustle. This was a cultural moment so loud that even people who didn't know who King Harris was were suddenly crying in comment sections like they'd grown up with him. The fallout extended beyond the family too. Public opinion about fame itself shifted. People started asking the question nobody likes to confront. At what point does fame stop being a blessing and start being a curse? King Harris' collapse wasn't just a medical crisis, it was a mirror held up to celebrity culture, showing us just how addicted we are to turning pain into entertainment. Fans cried, trolls joked, celebrities capitalized, and all of it blurred the line between real grief and viral content. The hospital, by the way, didn't escape unscathed. After that leaked audio recording went viral, the administration was forced into damage control. Statements were released, investigations launched, and staff members were reportedly fired. But by then, it was too late. The internet had already stamped the Harris ordeal as public property, and no official press release could unring the bell. And if you thought things were slowing down, think again. Because just as the Harris family tried to retreat into privacy, more bombshells dropped. Old clips of King arguing with strangers in malls resurfaced, rebranded as warning signs. TMZ ran think pieces asking whether fame broke him. Blogs dug up his past feuds and spun them into tragic backstories. Suddenly, King's entire life was rewritten as a countdown to this moment. The most outrageous part? Some fans started planning vigils outside the hospital, complete with candles, signs, and speakers blasting T.I.'s old hits. What was supposed to be a moment of quiet reflection turned into a chaotic block party. Cops had to break up crowds, reporters tripped over themselves to grab footage, and vendors even showed up selling t-shirts that said, "Prayers for King." Because why not monetize grief when tragedy is trending? For the Harris family, the aftermath was a nightmare they couldn't wake up from. They weren't just fighting for King, they were fighting to control the narrative of their own legacy. Every action, every word, every Instagram story was being spun into something bigger, messier, and more viral. And no matter what they did, the story wasn't theirs anymore, it belonged to the internet, and maybe that's the saddest part of all. In a world addicted to drama, King Harris' last moments became everyone's business. His family's pain became a meme. His struggle became a hashtag. His tragedy became entertainment. And as much as fans claimed they were supporting, the reality was clear. The Harris family was drowning in attention they never asked for, in a spotlight they couldn't escape. The final consequence? The Harris legacy now walks a tightrope. Will they rise from this chaos stronger than ever, reclaiming their place in hip-hop royalty? Or will the scandal stain them forever, a tragic reminder of how fame eats its own? Nobody knows. What we do know is this: the story of King Harris' last moments has already carved itself into pop culture history. And like every great cliffhanger, it leaves us all asking what comes next. And there you have it, folks. King Harris' last moments turned into a circus bigger than Coachella, messier than a Kardashian divorce, and louder than a Nicki versus Cardi Twitter war. Doctors dropped the shock report. The family collapsed. The internet exploded. And now we're all left picking up the pieces of a story that makes even Netflix look like amateurs. But let's be real. You didn't just watch this because you care about truth or respect. Nah, you came for the chaos, the leaks, the tears, and the memes. And don't even lie, half of you are already typing in the comments first, while the other half are debating whether this was karma, clout, or just plain tragedy. And guess what? We want all of it. Drop your wildest theories, your hottest takes, your most savage memes right below. Because this channel thrives on scandal like rappers thrive on auto-tune. And if you're still here, don't just sit there like a lurker at the cookout, smash that like button like it owes you money. Slap the subscribe button harder than Chris Rock at the Oscars. And turn on notifications like your life depends on it. Because trust me, the next scandal is already brewing. And you don't want to be the clown who finds out 2 weeks late on Facebook. Here at Trend Tattle, we don't just spill tea, we pour the whole kettle. Burn the table, and then dance in the ashes. So stay tuned, because the Harris saga may be today's headline, but tomorrow's bombshell is already knocking at the door. This isn't just news. This is the Scandal Olympics. And baby, your front row, Trend Tattle, where chaos lives forever. Forever.